Hello, cultural studies kids. Okay, I promise you, today is the last time I'll be missing your class to go to a meeting at the Board of Education office. The meeting that we have after this is actually going to be at the beginning of the day, so yay, last time. Today, we're going to talk about the characteristics and the values of Persian culture, which is the culture that we're going to be taking a look at with Iranian, Afghanistan, that kind of thing, while we're reading Persepolis, based on like a little bit of the movie that we watched yesterday, as well as what's coming up in the book. I'm going to give you a little bit of background about the background of Persian culture. So, the key components of Persian culture that you need to keep in mind, remember we're talking about these three things. We talked about it with Indian culture: religion, family and social structure, and boundaries. That's the components that we're going to talk about today with the Iranian culture. These three things play a huge role in why the culture does things the way that they do, members of the culture do, and also kind of how the government moves. And it also gives you a lot of good background as far as the book is concerned. So first we're going to talk about religion. So yesterday in the movie, Rick Steves talked about the difference between Shia Muslims and Sunni Muslims. And there is a difference between the two different types of Muslim sects. The Shia Muslims believe that Prophet Muhammad was the last prophet of God, just like the Sunni Muslims do. But they also believe that in order to continue to lead the church, you need to have been a direct descendant of the Prophet Muhammad in order to continue to lead the church. Sunni Muslims believe that it could be any person who could lead the church. So the big civil war between Shia Muslims and Sunni Muslims are about who can actually lead the church. And like I said, it's all about direct descendant of the Prophet Muhammad. So there are 89% of the people in Iran that we're going to be taking a look are Shia, and 9% are Sunni. There are 2% that are Zoroastrian. That's that ancient religion that Rick Steves was talking about with, he showed you the temple, the ancient Zoroastrian temple, and it's considered like the first religion 700 years before Islam. So there's that. Then there's also some Jewish people, some Christian people, and a religion called Baha'i, which I'd like to say I know something about, but I know nothing about. But you can see that those are even less than 2%. Those are the smallest percentages of the population. So you're looking at Islam being one of the biggest components of religion. Religion, just like India, governs almost every aspect of lives, the personal lives, political lives, economic, and their legal lives within the families, and, you know, as they're doing lawsuits and things like that. So what the Islamic religion believes is that the Prophet Muhammad was the last prophet of God. The Islamic religion follows similar early paths, Old Testament paths, that the Christian religion does. So for example, if we look at the Quran is the interpretation of the Bible that puts Muhammad as the last prophet of God. For Jews, the Torah is that puts Moses as the last prophet of God. And in the Bible, Jesus is considered the last forerunner of God, the last prophet of God. So that's how those three religions, they all have the same base. Islam, Judaism, and Christianity all have the same base story, but they disagree about who is the last true prophet of God. There is one other book that guides the Islamic religion. The Quran is essentially the Old Testament. It just, like I said, places Muhammad as the last prophet. The other book is called The Actions of the Prophet, the Sunnah. And that is actually supposed to be what guides people's daily interactions and how they're supposed to dress and talk and, you know, like kind of the laws of Islam. So the actions of the Prophet is based on those laws. That's where the hijab, the veil that you wear, the hijab, and the burqa, the long gowns come in for Islamic women. That comes from that book, the Actions of the Prophet. All right. So this is some of the tenets that Islamic people follow. There are the 5 times daily prayer at dawn, at noon, afternoon, sunset, and evening. Bell rings, and if you are in an Islamic country, everything stops, everyone takes a moment and kneels down to pray. Friday is the holy day in Islamic religion as opposed to Sunday, which is the Christian holy day. And most companies close on Thursday in Iran because Thursday, Friday is considered the weekend. Friday being the holy day and Thursday being the day before the holy day that you can prepare for the holy day. Now, if you remember back to that movie that we watched about the football players, they were all Islamic followers, and the month of Ramadan, it kind of followed what they did during their football season during the month of Ramadan. That's when they have fasting from dawn until dusk. They work 6 hours that day, and they cannot work more than 6 hours a day during Ramadan. So Iran is the only Shiite state, which is kind of interesting. All right, next, family values. Family is the basis of the society in Iran. Everything that you do for your family. And one of the things that's key to that is that female position within the family. Within the Islamic culture, females are to be protected from outsiders. So the different door knockers that you saw in the movie, as well as the use of the burqa and the hijab, those are all things to try to protect females from outsiders. Sometimes females are required to go to different areas of the house when visitors come, particularly if they're male. And they're always supposed to have the burqa and the hijab on if a male outside the family is in their presence. Small families, typically small nuclear families, so one child, mother and a father, or maybe 2 children and a mother and a father, but they have a lot of extended families, so cousins and aunts and uncles and grandparents might live in the same house together. Speaking of which, elders are kept at home. There's no such thing as like a nursing center or retirement home. Once your mother or father gets too old to live on their own, they typically come live with you, or you may never leave the house, and you may live in their house until they die, and then you continue on and continue to live there as well. Family before business is a big rule in Iran. In fact, nepotism is encouraged, meaning you promote your son or daughter before anyone else, or you promote your cousin before anyone else because you believe that family loyalty is the biggest loyalty of all. So that's kind of a little bit of difference. In our culture, nepotism is sort of looked down upon. It's funny because after school yesterday, I was talking with Michael Walsh and Parker Carbine about how in American culture, if you are the coach of the football team and your son becomes the quarterback, everybody kind of looks at you funny. In Iranian culture, that would be a benefit. Like, of course, your son is going to be the quarterback because nepotism is encouraged. Okay, finally, they have very distinct boundaries. There are 2 different kinds of behaviors or identities that most people have in Iran. There's the zahir, the public identity, and there's the batin, the private identity. So in your zahir identity is variance based on gender, whereas your batin identity can also be based on gender. And most of all, your zahir identity, your public identity, is based on the tenets of the religion. So you could be an extremely outspoken female in the privacy of your home, your batin identity, but when you are in a public identity, you take on the characteristics based upon your gender, based upon the tenets of your religion, wearing the hijab and the burqa and everything like that. Males tend to be more masculine as their public identity and less so in their private identities. So the family circle within this is kind of the freedom from boundaries. So those inner circles allow them to get advice from their family, to find a job, to cut through bureaucracy. It's that nepotism thing that kind of comes about it. And that private identity, that batin, the people who know your batin identity, they are the people that you trust more than anyone else in this culture. There is a kind of concept in Iranian culture called taruf, and that is politeness. And you kind of saw that a little bit yesterday on the Iranian travel documentary, Travelogue. Everyone that Rick Steves ran across seemed extremely polite. The guy in the car, if you remember, saying he wishes that America and Iran would have better relations. And if you saw anyone that he met on the street, they were extremely polite. But what goes along with that taruf is these like ways that govern their behavior. They are to protest any compliment. So if you would tell someone who is in the taruf mindset, the politeness mindset, that their hair looked good, or that you liked their outfit, or that they were very smart, or they made a wise decision, they would protest to the point of actually insulting themselves. Like, this old rag, or my hair, it's so ugly I can never do anything with it, or, oh, I'm just an oaf, I don't understand anything, but you should see my cousin so and so. So protesting compliments and belittling accomplishments is part of that idea of politeness. Also, Iranian politeness requires people to decline food or drink until it's insisted, and typically the time is 3 times. So you have to decline food or drink 3 times until you finally accept. But if someone wants to politely offer you food, that's kind of one of the things. Someone comes to your house in America, right? Isn't the first thing, would you like something to drink? Can I get you something to eat? That's similar in Iranian culture, but you expect to be denied 3 times before you're actually accepted. And then what we noticed yesterday on the documentary is that men and women socialize and are in public atmospheres very separate. So the separate lives between men and women are extremely clear-cut as far as the Iranian culture. Now that's going to lead us to the book that we're going to be reading, Persepolis, which is a graphic novel. We'll talk a little bit about the graphic novel and how to read graphic novels and how they work a little bit tomorrow. But I'm giving you a reading assignment tonight. If you take a look up on the board, I want you to read up to page 46 in Persepolis. It's a really fast read, and then tomorrow we're going to talk a little bit about what makes reading a graphic novel different. We're also going to talk a little bit about the story behind the story. This is the true story of Marjane Satrapi's childhood, told in graphic novel form. So I'm hoping you enjoy it. It's a pretty good book, I think, to end your high school career, and it's a really fast read. So tomorrow, read up to page 46, and I will see you tomorrow.